call to order the April meeting for the town of Chincoteague. If everybody could please rise for the invocation.
Kind of Heavenly Father, Lord, it is my prayer tonight that we pray for one another. Lord, our neighbors have lost homes. It seems like everybody's stressed. Lord, but your word says to pray for one another, not just the people that love us, Lord, but the people that we don't love, and sometimes they don't love us. Lord, we pray for one another and just lift each other up. Lord, we just need to do things the way you'd have us to do, Lord, instead of being angry with each other and looking for the worst in each other, Lord. Lord, we need to pray for common ground, Lord, and Lord, we just, during trying times, Lord, we just pray for your guidance in everything that we do, because sometimes, Lord, when we do things our way, it don't work out. Lord, be with this town, Lord, especially our police department right now, Lord, the short-handed police department we have, Lord, are going to be tired and stressed, Lord, and Lord, we just pray that things will work out and come their way, that we can find help, Lord, and all of our employees, Lord, give them strength through everything they do and safety through everything they do. Lord, please continue to be with this town, Lord. You bless us so much, Lord. And Lord, as tourist season is soon coming, Lord, we pray that we'll be kind and loving to the people that want to share this town with us. And Lord, we have to be the ones that do the sharing. Lord, just go with us and guide us and direct us in everything that we do. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' precious name. For his sake, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the exciting night of town council. We don't have to do remote because Mr. Bott is not going to be here. First up is the public comment. All right, we've got two. Kurt?
Yes.
You're up.
All right. How y'all doing?
All right.
I'm just bringing to the attention that we need some work done on Twilley Drive, the road. We brought it to the attention for 2 years. And the grading that the town does is great, but it comes back just like that. And with it was going back and forth, who owned it and all that. So we're just looking at residents there just complaining. And I guess I'm the one coming to speaking for them. So, but anyway, I've had my front end tore up on that road. I've patched it, money out of my pocket. And I've been coming to the town asking, for some help. The grading's great, but it's not working. I invite y'all to drive down that road 2 or 3 times a day. See what happens to your car. So I just really want to see if there's something we can make a plan forward that we're not just grading and wasting our time and money, So if you could find some money somehow, because that's what I've been hearing. It's all about money. But something really needs to be done. This grading is just not working. So I'd appreciate the help if y'all could help us out. Get to it.
Sir, would you just, for the record, just state your name and address for...
Oh, Kurt Cleveland. It's 5123 Twilley Drive.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Paula Neese?
Neese. I'm Paula Neese. I live at 6417 Canal Lane here on the island. And I am here to ask the town council for some help and strategies for cleaning up the town. And I'm hopeful that other citizens might be listening as well, because I remembered at a current town council meeting, Mr. Mayor, bless you, you commented on the very subject. But I'm not just talking about downtown, I'm talking about community-wide. April 22nd is one day we set aside for remembering to take care of this planet. One day when it should be 365. And we all know this, it isn't rocket science, and yet there are those who need to be reminded by signs and posters that say, no littering, please clean up after your pet. It still seems that those efforts are not enough. We can't blame the tourists when this goes on year-round. We can't blame children because perhaps they haven't been taught any better. Heck, some obviously adults were not taught any better, but I think we can fix this. We all know it isn't right to just toss trash from your car window. We know we should clean up our yards and not allow our properties to become eyesores or dangerous, yet it happens. We all see derelict and neglected properties, and our hands are often tied about what can be done. We can't just trust that policies and ordinances can be followed or rely on just politics to fix it, so what can we do? For my part, I'm asking Town Council to designate April 22nd as a First Community Cleanup Day. I'd like to invite every council member and others to help clean our neighborhoods. Our nature trail is strewn with limbs and dropped trees, I know, because I walk it every afternoon. And I cleaned up messes that are not my dogs either. But the waterway and the canal by the trail and the school are trashed. The receptacles for dog cleanup are coming apart, and believe it or not, most people do use them. The whole of Hallie Wheelton Drive could use some help, and there are other neighborhoods and empty lots that could use some help. I'm asking, and this is short notice for this year, and I know that, but would it be possible that at least the city could offer trash bags and gloves for those willing to volunteer, and then pick up any trash bags or large items that are collected? It's true that many of the issues are on private property, and people may be offended or say, it's my property and you can't tell me what to do with it. However, to these people, I'm going to use the same tired lines I use a lot. Owning property is a right and a privilege, and with rights come responsibilities, and with privileges come obligations. It will take a village to fix these problems because, sadly, an apathetic, I don't care attitude seems to be prevalent. And that's why I'm asking council to meet and discuss these things and let us know what you might suggest we could do, because I know it's something we all care about. So those are my ideas. I'm asking for ideas from council because one person can make a difference, but a whole community that works together can have lasting effects for the future. So I look forward to hearing your suggestions, and I thank you for your service and your time and for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Just tell me what's going on. All right, next up is, I'll entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on to staff report, Mr. Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. General Government Staff Report for March. Starting with the Civic Center, there was one commercial event at the Civic Center, 2 nonprofits, and 5 community events over March. It was a relatively busy month. These events included Benelli USA, was there last Friday. There was a chamber-sponsored job fair and also surf safety training that was done within conjunction of the SCC. The Red Cross had a blood drive, and the youth center was also there a few weekends ago. The delivery of our new HVAC equipment has been postponed again. The contractor refers it to the factory's latest lie. Now the delivery date is no sooner than July 4th. That pushes our next window to replace that equipment into August. In preparation for that, we've had a beginning of season service done to the chiller, and they are preparing an estimate for us to also, or for me to also consider putting the other circuit in that chiller, circuit number 1, back in operation. Because if we have to go through another summer with that piece of equipment, I believe we were on borrowed time last summer, so we're just trying to hedge our bets. In any event, we'll, as soon as the equipment is available, we'll be using the first available window to make that installation. This is not a unique problem in the town of Chincoteague. Everyone I speak with is having problems with receiving equipment from the factory for HVAC equipment. So we'll do the best we can and get that here as soon as possible. The old firehouse, there are currently 8 spaces that we are leasing or that are available for lease in the old firehouse. We have, as of last week, leased all 8. They're full. There's no vacancy in the old firehouse. The latest was in last space to be rented was the old ambulance bay, which has 3 garage doors downstairs. It's a very nice space, and we leased that to a nice couple that are relocating here from Annapolis. And they are excited to start their business in that space. So right now, as I speak, all 8 spaces in the firehouse are rented. Moving on to meals and transit occupancy. Just taking a look at for March. Meals was slightly down year over year for March as compared to March of '22. And transient shot up for the month. So those two are diverging. You can see that in the graph here on the actual collections. We had a very good month for transient occupancy, and meals fell off slightly. I expect that to pop right back up in the month of April. And also for percentage of budget, which is controlled just as much by our projections of what the budget will be, or revenues will be, as it is the actual business. They both fell off, but to an equal amount, so that's not concerning. Right now, we have exceeded 100% of our revenues for transient occupancy. Meals is not quite there, but I do expect that before the end of the fiscal year to achieve 100% of the estimated revenues for meals. Our financial report, not much there to report, other than we are still on track to make a budget and do well this year. All the same anomalies that were there last month still exist. We have an ARPA payment that we didn't anticipate, which is running revenues over what was projected for the general fund. We are still down in the Kermit Merritt Harbor because we have paid out money on our new boat ramp at Memorial Park without yet transferring the money into that account from our reserve account. And same thing, yeah, the center fund, we have transmitted the reserve or the investment account funds into the center fund, and without yet expending them because the equipment is not here. So that's why we're showing more revenues than we would normally show this time we get that. Back in tax collections, and I'm going to hit this one more time, we're up to $656,000 in tax collections for real estate tax and $267,000 for personal property. These are in line with last year's estimates, and if you look, we're $656,500 are exactly 1% over on real estate taxes, which is exactly what we calculated at the beginning of the year. Of course, that real estate taxes is a very fixed inventory. They don't make any more land, and we know what it is and how much it's worth, so it's kind of easy. It's more difficult to do with personal property taxes, and we are a little over what we projected on that, but certainly not terribly over. And the new thing we have going here, the cigarette tax, we received $4,751 from the Cigarette Tax Board for the month of March, which represented 12,760 packs of cigarettes sold at the 7 retail businesses on the island that sell those. We also expect that to go up next month. Reviewing the Sunset Bay acquisition, the eminent domain draft documents have been completed. All parties have reviewed them, and we are now sending them back to HRSD just to take a look and make sure they're going to be okay with what we are planning. They are reviewing those now. We expect those back in a few days. They have had them for a while. We expect those back in a few days, and we're going ahead and get started. Our attorneys say that within the next 30 days, they hope to be filing the eminent domain suit on our behalf. Of course, you know, our target date for that is 180 days from the date we signed the agreement, which was December 29th. So still on track with that. The attorney's doing a good job keeping it going and keeping all parties moving on this. The Planning Commission is reviewing phased service areas right now. We'll have another meeting on Tuesday night. This is a preliminary, you see the map on the board, that's the preliminary phased areas that Mark and I are considering, and we've presented to the Planning Commission to review. And they are also reviewing a comprehensive plan with a guide toward expanding any future increase capacity that we have, and that has to be done so that HRSD will know what our plans plans are and how we plan to expand in the future when we do obtain additional capacity from the DEQ. And I say will because I fully anticipate being able to do that at some point. Dredging. We were notified a few weeks ago by the Corps of Engineers that the Chincoteague Inlet Federal Project received a substantial amount of funding for the 24 and 25 fiscal years. Another $800,000 from the President's budget and $2.3 million in the FY23 work plan. They will use this to do a full scope dredging of the inlet, which they will actually hire a contractor. We're not just going to see, we will see the dredge Murden, which is on the Corps of Engineers dredge, but we will also see a contractor doing some additional dredging in the inlet. A lot of this sand, a lot of this material is going to be pumped over to the Fish and Wildlife, the National Wildlife Refuge for some land or some projects they're trying to do there, reclamation projects, and they will use that sandy material. So it'll be pumped there, so it would be beneficial use of the material. They won't just be depositing it into two spoil sites, and one, if you notice there, is just to the northwest of Lewis Creek, and the other site is just to the southwest of the inlet.
That's where they're planning on putting it?
No, they will be, those are the two sites they've identified that they normally use
Oh,
in the
okay.
Murden
All right,
Bridge.
I was gonna
Bridge is
say,
here. But if you
thought it
look
was
at
off,
these,
yeah.
if you look at these yellow lines, they are actually pump hoses, which they will be pumping the sand over towards the refuge.
They're making a living shoreline.
Yeah. And the refuge has been asking for some beneficial dredge material for a while, so
Backside of Swan Cove.
that's a win-win right there. And they, according to our Corps representative, they intend to dredge the channel back to -12, which is what it's authorized to.
Mike, is there any, will you have, from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, will you have any kind of paperwork and wording and exactly what they're gonna do with this? Because my thought here is, you know, if they're gonna dump some along the backside here in Tom's Cove to shore up
I know what you
the
thought.
thin strand there,
They're not.
It's a living shoreline, so like you're saying, it's
But
a big project.
I will certainly pose that question. I know exactly what you're saying, and the thought occurred to me as well. Yes, I will absolutely pose that question and see what the answer is, just so we'll know.
yeah.
You know,
I'd like to know where they're,
Mm-hmm.
where they want to put it at.
and it's preliminary, but we keep talking about the southern end of Chincoteague. And to my way of thinking, it would be beneficial if they had a spoil site is right there off of the end of Birch's Island, or Little Chincoteague as we know it. It's a sandbar there, and it used to be an island that protected the harbor and the southern end of Chincoteague. It looks like the Army Corps of Engineers would be able to pump something there, put a jetty up, and just protect that southern end. Because right now, when a storm blows in, that's a bad spot.
Oh, well, maybe if we have the Fish and Wildlife request that for us, they'll come to.
Well, them or the Navy or somebody. 'Cause all you gotta do, and we've seen it, when we had Representative Gloria down there the day that we couldn't go out in the boat, because it was, the swell coming in from the inlet is a direct line from there right to the harbor, right to the south shore. So that would be a definite beneficial use of spoil material.
Do we have, as the town, would we have any more, power towards Army Corps of Engineers to say where we would like it go first, besides, or is this going to be, is the Army Corps of Engineers working in conjunction with Fish and Wildlife?
My understanding to this point is it had to go to one of their identified spoil sites, which if you look here, the three, if you remove the Fish and Wildlife site, the three are northeast of Lewis Creek,
Which does no good.
southwest of the
Yep.
inlet,
Which
or
does
It's no good.
or at the harbor, which is the upland spoil site. Those are the three identified areas.
Does no good.
Obviously, the Fish and Wildlife has requested to use this material on the refuge as beneficial material. The our core rep did make a comment that they are keeping the pump hose under 2 miles because if it goes over 2 miles, they have to add pumps and subsequently more money. So pumping it to where Birches Island used to be certainly a short enough distance.
Mhm. Where it would help protect life and property.
Makes sense, but I'm not saying that they ever use good sense. But we can suggest it. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Moving on to building and zoning. For the month of March, we did 54 building permits and conducted 90 inspections, 19 business license visits, 3 permit reviews. We had 46 walk-ins. March busy. For total cost of construction of $926,000, and total permit fees collected were $3,800. So it was a busy month for Mark, and it only gets busier as the spring wears on. So with that, that's the end of my report. I'll entertain any questions, ma'am.
Anybody? Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Next up is Robbie, Chief.
Thanks, sir. On March the 6th, myself and dispatcher Amy Lewis attended the radio demonstration that they had for the new radio system down in Malfa. L3 Harris, the one that got the contract, they brought in the consoles and the portable radios and vehicle radios and all, just to give us all an idea of what was going to be coming here in the near future. And then on March 14th, Tyler Major Greenley, he went to Exmoor. Part of the grant, or part of the money that's coming for the system is going to be on a grant. I believe it's called a COPS grant. It's a federal grant. And of course with Jeff Flournoy, he's not that familiar with law enforcement end of it, and it has some questions in there, that were to do with law enforcement, of course, where we're going to be included in everything anyway. So he got a member from each department on the shore to meet down in Exmoor and try to hash out, what all needed to be put into the grant. And I think they got that all completed, or at least, most of his questions answered that Jeff had. One other thing that I didn't have in the report, but I wanted to update you all on, our flock cameras. So far, to my knowledge, I would say probably 5 or 6 times we've used them now. I know it's been a couple times we've assisted state police with a few. I had one a couple weeks ago for a local business owner here on the island that somebody didn't show up to pay the bill after they had provided a service for them, and we were able to look through the cameras. That the vehicle did not go off the island, it was still on here. We were able to locate the vehicle and make sure that the person paid the bill. But also, the most latest one we had was over on the refuge. Officer Darren Dick got a call that some people were walking on the refuge, and a vehicle went by them and shot an airsoft gun out. Airsoft. So they had a video and a description of the vehicle. Officer Dick got with PFC Stevens, and they accessed the cameras and were able to match a vehicle on those cameras going off. It was local in Accomack County, and Officer Dick did interview the people, owners of the vehicle, and he has charged them. So, those cameras are paying off good for us so far. They're really helping. We've solved several cases with them. So, and that's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Robbie? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is Public Works, Wes.
Kind of seemed like small potatoes after that, Robbie. Thanks.
You got one.
So one thing that we did this this month was some new landscaping around the office. Took out some existing bushes and got some new ones and put in, spruced up the mulch and stuff like that. So trying to get everything looking a little bit better for springtime. Making good progress at Memorial Park boat ramp. That picture is a picture of the ramp at low tide when they're able to pump it down. At this point, they've got their rebar mats all tied in the ramp here, and we are hoping to pour this week on Wednesday and Friday. So we should be pouring every other day, Wednesday, Friday, of course Monday, not sure on Monday, but we are hoping to be pouring this week, and this should be coming to a close fairly quickly. The next picture is where they tied in the new dock to the existing dock there, and they did a good job of. The page must have stuck together. There you go. So we did some grading down at Ocean Breeze that was in dire need, and as was stated earlier, it's only a temporary solution, but we've got to do what we've got to do at this point to keep the roads able to be accessed and safe for school buses and emergency vehicles and stuff like that. So down at the harbor, we had a delivery of the floating docks, and as soon as we get Cropper Street done, hopefully we can get on the installation of these docks. But they came in. We've got them all located close by to where we can get them installed. Also, we had a service call and repair to the chair lift at the old firehouse, so that's now back in working order, and we've gotten a permanent electric outlet run for the charger for the chair, so that should be a permanent fix here for this situation and get some use out of that. On Cropper Street, the progress we've made there, we've finished flushing and chlorinating all the water main. We've installed all the water services. We did the water main tie-in at the Main Street end last Thursday on the 30th, and that was a long, hard day, but we got that done. And so the water line is at this point 100% complete. We're installing the storm drain, at least mobilizing and getting equipment down there and pipe down there, and the catch basins and all. We're doing that this week. And then following that, we'll be starting on the demo of the sidewalks. So that being said, a couple of things that have happened this month is we received bids for the sidewalk installation. There's more details on that later in the meeting, but we did receive multiple bids for the sidewalk installation. We received multiple bids for the milling and grading and paving of Cropper Street and Maddox. And of course, we'll continue with our normal daily routine stuff next month. But that's where we're at. Has anybody got any questions?
Anybody? Thank you, Wes. Last but not least, Mr. Rush.
All right, that's all right. You can do it. Good evening. As you can see from your report last week when it was submitted, we've had, I believe it was 8 more calls from that time, which still works out to be 9 less than we had in March of 2022. But still, when you're talking single digits, that's kind of at a break even. So we're still fairly busy out there. Next slide, please. The big news for this month, in my opinion, is the AED grant that we were awarded. So I did put a couple pictures up there. The wall mounts, we'll see 3 of those. We're going to replace the one down at Curtis Merritt Harbor with one of those because they are climate controlled. There's going to be one at Brianna's Park that looks like that, and one at Memorial Park. Then our towers then that we're going to place, one's going to be at the entrance there near the Misty statue on Main Street going into Robert Reed Park. That'll serve our downtown area, Don's Seafood Restaurant, out to the Robert Reed Park, all the shops and so forth there, the library, It was a pretty good placement to serve a lot of folks. And the next one we're going to place, we're actually going to put down at the entrance to the town dock as you go into the American Legion, the town dock. That'll serve the businesses at the firehouse, Bill's Seafood Restaurant. Plus it'll be just another one in that area. So if somebody thinks of that one as opposed to the other one, if somebody says, hey, go get me an AED, someone's in cardiac arrest, they'll have options. And then our third tower is going to go back here by the dog park, right there at the head of the walking trail. So certainly, a lot of folks use the park, use the walking trail. Not only that, but it will be, when we measured it out, about half distance between the elementary school and also the high school. Each school has an AED inside. However, should something be going on outside, they're locked out of the school or it's after hours, it's a hike, but somebody could jump in a car, bicycle, whatever, and go down and actually obtain that AED there at the dog park. So we're going to be very well covered as far as AEDs go. We're going to have to add a little electricity along the way because, again, these are going to be climate controlled. So in the wintertime, they won't freeze. In the summertime, they won't bake to death. So it was a really good add-on. Another shout-out I want to give to the Little League. They purchased an AED. Actually, we started working on it last year. And because of supply issues, so not only with air conditioners, but also with AEDs, it took us almost a year to get that AED in. So anyway, they've put it back here, nice big red box, very centrally located to all the fields. And again, we know how these fields are very well used, with children, adults, and so forth. So again, we're coming a real long way with AEDs here in the town of Chincoteague. And now, once we get them up, installed, we will do a campaign to try to get people aware of them. And not only that, but CPR and AEDs, that's how we save lives. It's very important. So we will work on that just as soon as we get them up. Shipping, they're all going to be shipped to the health department, and then I will pick them up from there, and then we'll get to work on them and do, like I said, most of the install, all the install will be in-house. We may have to have a line. Mr. Talbert and I talked, A&N come in and drop a line at one or two of the locations, but we don't think there's going to be a whole lot to it. Also, with these devices, I didn't ask for it in the grant because I was trying to get 6 AEDs. I'd much rather have 6 AEDs, and got the whole gamut. They will notify. So what I've done is I've put myself and one person from each of our shifts on the notification for maintenance. So if temperature goes out, batteries are getting weak, pads are bad, we will all get that notification. So one of us will be around that day to handle that. And then on top of that, we will get notified in the event that the AED is removed for an emergency. So the AED, the cabinet will all talk. And with that, I've added my 100% of my staff on that so that whoever's working will immediately get that probably before the 911 call goes in. Also, if they're in the area for the day, those that live on here and those that maybe are over here for the day getting ice cream with the family, they see that go off, they can go and assist. And then all of the police officers also will have it on their phones. So if they're out patrolling, again, if they're off, happen to be in the area of one of these AEDs, when the AED alarms can go right to it. So hopefully we can make our community a lot safer with these. So that's a pretty big deal for the month of March. Next, please. Emergency management, same old thing. We're going to continue weather monitoring, and again, I'll have my slide up here in a minute about being prepared. I think over the last week, we can certainly see the need to be prepared. It's not just about hurricanes or nor'easters or tidal flooding. There's a lot of things that can happen just with the severe thunderstorm that came through the other night. Not too far to our north, EF3 tornado went through Sussex County, which is unheard of. Okay, EF3 is a pretty big tornado. So again, we need to be prepared, but we're watching the weather. Rocket Lab is planning another launch tentatively for the 30th of April, and that'll be an evening launch again. The 6th of May is still the go date for the Antares NG-19 launch, and that'll be at 7 a.m. in the morning. So same day as the Seafood Festival. Hasn't slipped yet. We'll get through it. And again, Seafood Festival, and then we're still working the exercise for our pod in September. Next slide, please. And I'll say it again, prepare now. We can wait till the lights go out and the wind starts blowing and then decide to go get stuff. But, stores might be closed then, might be too late, trees might be down. Now is the time to plan for disasters. And of course, this is to the public, but if we were to ask you to leave, you need to leave. We're only going to have so many resources available to the public. So again, this is one way for the public to prepare themselves. Again, we could have a power issue that could take the power from the island for days or weeks. Are you prepared for that? Just simple preparation can get you through a pretty terrible experience. So again, now's the time to prepare. COVID, as you can see there in the 4-week trend cases, it's showing 311 is the last. They're really lagging behind on data now. And of course, the health emergency at the federal level ends May the 11th. So I can kind of see why. But if you look all the way to the very right of that graph, at the very bottom, there's a blue dot from here. That's 286 cases for the week ending last week. So as you can see, they actually charted something there, but it didn't make it up top. So again, COVID, this last round is waning. You can see for the month reported from February 28th to March 28th, 8 cases for 2, 3, 3, 3, 6. One more, please. And again, the variants, you can see, our variants, again, we're looking at the XB15, the XB BB being kind of your prevalent ones. And again, not a whole lot as far as cases that are active now. And again, that public health emergency ends on May the 11th. So my plan, if it's okay with all of you, come next month we'll do one more COVID report since we'll still be in it. But then if you have questions on COVID, email questions, I'll have a little information with me every time I come. But maybe for once we won't talk about COVID a whole lot anymore. But there'll be something else, so don't worry. Don't feel slighted because something else will come along. So in summary, EMS calls are steady service. Be weather aware and prepare. Again, I can't overstate that too much because, yes, we do have hurricane season coming upon us, but there are so many other things that are much more likely than a hurricane. It could put us without electricity for days, could impact food stores, could impact money, could impact getting your doggy treat. So again, now's the time to prepare. That federal health emergency will expire on May the 11th, and spaceflight tourism stays busy the next few months. I'll entertain any questions.
Go ahead, Denise.
You have one? No. The placing these AEDs, the downtown dock and boat ramp there behind the Legion, is it going to go further towards the dock or up there by the Legion?
It's going to be up on Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Where the bricks are at.
Gotcha.
It's going to be up on Main Street, so it's very visible. So anytime someone goes in there, they'll see it. It'll be visible from all the other areas.
Cool.
And again, part of our campaign is to make sure folks, especially that work in that area, but more so visitors to the area and stuff, are saturated with knowing that's where they're at, because every second counts when it comes to cardiac arrest, CPR, and AED. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? I've got a question. Was that you skydiving?
it was.
Jeez, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I don't understand.
You COVID lost his excitement, and he had to find something else.
Thank you, Brian.
It was actually before that, though. So.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Mike.
I want to add, and Brian did an excellent job with the AEDs and getting those, but the few sites that we have to add power to, we will most likely use that same power for our new surveillance system. So it's not just being singly applied to that particular
Right.
use. We're going to need power there for our surveillance system anyhow, which coincides with a lot of these spots.
That's good. All right, moving on to committee reports, and there was only one, which is budget and personnel. We met on the 14th of March, and we acted on the budget requests that we did at the meeting, at the work session. The budget review and also the capital improvement plan. So if anybody's got any questions, they should have asked them at the work session. Moving on, we need to adopt the minutes of our March 6th and our March 16th workshops. Was there any corrections or additions or anything like that? And I'll entertain the motion.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on, let's see, I've got to open up a public hearing for a lot line vacation. You can see the advertisement there. Is there any public comment on this? Going once, going twice. All right, we'll close the public participation part of it. Now let's hear the minutes of it, Mike, or the application.
Give me just 1 second. I'll
Sure.
put it back up. This is a lot line vacation proposed by Mr. and Mrs. Tracy. They own 2 lots in Ocean Breeze. I'll give you the aerial first in Ocean Breeze, and it is lots 64 and 63 that you see right here in the center of the screen. They are at the end of Seabreeze Drive, on the west end of Seabreeze Drive, the northwest end. And they are proposing to remove the lot between those two, the line between those 2 lots. This is the revised plat, showing the X's out in the dashed line between the 2 lots. Mark has reviewed the lots. They do conform to current zoning once the line is vacated. And he sees no structural issues with the vacation itself.
Any questions or comments?
They gonna put a structure, a mobile home on that?
I'd have to assume so, yes,
East lot?
ma'am. But I don't know that they've applied for a permit yet.
And there wasn't any replies, yeas or nays to when they sent that out, so
No, sir.
neighbors don't seem to mind. Pleasure of council.
Make a motion to allow the vacation.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all. We can have fun with that. All right. Next up is public hearing for the sale of property. Oh, sure. Go on. All right. I'm gonna open up the public portion of this. Is there any public that wishes to speak on this land sale? We'll close the public participation part. And this is property that we have been talking about for a while, down by Memorial Park. And it cleans up a lot of the lot lines that we've had down at Memorial Park. So is there any discussion on this? Then I'll entertain a motion that we sell this parcel of land.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all. We might get to Gene Wayne's timeline. All right. Let's see. Moving on. The spring paving, Mr. Parks.
All right, we, for the first time in quite a while, received multiple bids for the paving project. I'll not read out each individual pay item in the bid, but total price Paragon Paving was at $459,503.50. and Branscombe Incorporated was at $609,285.34. We did get a memo from VDOT that they are increasing their funds to the town for road maintenance for the last 2 quarters of this year. So it's actually going up from $405 to $472,000. So I would recommend that we award a contract to Paragon Paving with a not to exceed value of $459,503.50.
Entertain a motion or questions? Go ahead.
You worked with them before, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be an affirmative.
All right.
Okay.
Because, you know, all we've heard forever since I've been
Yeah.
sitting here is Branscombe, so,
They were the only game in town.
yeah, that was good.
I've had Paragon do sub work for me as Branscombe when we had too much going on
And
to get to.
Where are they out of?
They are out of Norfolk.
Okay. Make a motion, we award it to Paragon.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on. Sidewalks.
All right, for the sidewalks, again, we had 2 bidders, 360 Services.
Man,
We didn't put the totals on here, I guess, but
Yeah, well,
it was quite a difference.
yeah.
360 Services is that number.
360
Yeah.
Services is at 122,000, and without doing the exact math, Branscombe was about 340,000.
And have you worked with these people too?
360 Services has done most all the sidewalks over here for Branscombe.
Yep. Make a motion, we go with 360.
Second this one too. All those in favor of saving a lot of money, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Wes.
Nice work.
Holy
Goodness.
cow.
Mr. Mayor, if I could say that this is the first time we've had competition in the paving end of this in quite some time.
Yeah.
And that's because we have somebody that knows the business now, was actually part of one of these companies.
Right.
And understands it. And he's very confident in Paragon, and I think we're going to get a job. We're certainly going to save some money, and as a result, we're going to be able to do all the paving that the Public Works Committee discussed.
Good. My only caveat is somebody better fix that down by Crab House.
Yes, thank you
Somebody
so
gonna
much.
lose- Somebody gonna lose an axle.
I was gonna mention that in public comment
Where you
tonight, or
put the
mayor
borderline
comments.
That's in this item
Maddox and Main.
right here called
It's bad.
small quantities.
Yes,
It's bad.
That's what that money is for.
make that the first job in small
Yeah,
quantities,
speed
please.
George, you're right too.
I come through there the other night, it was like going into a valley,
Yeah. All right,
and I knew it was there.
moving on. I'll start with you, Denise, since you.
I'm good.
I'm gonna go with you first since it's on your mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was gonna be a question I had. I was actually gonna talk to Wes about it, by himself, but since we're here, can we get that one done? And, Brian, thank you so much. I was waiting for this opportunity tonight to thank you personally and publicly about all the AEDs. What a fantastic job you always do and continue to do. And, your work doesn't go unnoticed and is very much appreciated, very much. Back to Mr. Cleveland with the roads. I've been talking to Mike for quite a while about roads. You know, it's not just that the people that live on those roads have to worry about their vehicles. We've got ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, and all that are having to utilize these roads. And they're in rough shape. A lot of them are. And we're in a situation where you might have one person that owns an entire private road, and then you have other situations where you've got several landowners that own the road. And I feel like we need to really try to come up with something either in our ordinance committee or something here in Public Works about how to try to get these roads maintained and taken care of, because it's where your sister-in-law now lives, and she'll notice this, on Pinedale. You know, everybody lives on Pinedale, past
Use your
Mr.
road.
Mesherwood. They come up Division and come down Rosedale, which is fine. I get to see everybody and talk to them, but you know, those people shouldn't have to not use their road because it's in bad shape. So I'm really hoping, I've talked with Mike a couple times, and I know everybody in this room's got a lot on their plate, but I hope that we can do that. And the last thing I want to say is something that Gene Wayne mentioned in his prayer tonight. This country's hurting in a lot of ways, and we really need to learn how to be more sympathetic and empathetic towards our fellow mankind. It's I feel like we see it here a lot already. We always pick up and do what we have to do for people, but we need to really get on the focus that people need a smile and a hug, and they need to know that they're cared about. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Just a little thing. Brian, thank you for one of your employees, your instructor, for getting 4 people that are qualified with CPR that they can do. 3 of them live on the island, so that means a lot. They're bus drivers, so that means a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure does. Well, Billy?
I don't have anything, mate.
Gene Wayne?
Just right where the niece is.
Keep it short, because
It is. It's amazing
Ball game's coming on.
when people from all walks of life and everything, like, take Brianna Connis Park. Even people donated services from away from here. People away from here donated big sums of money. And like you say, when you work together, you can see good things happen. But like you said, it seems like the old devil wants to make us at each other's throats all the time, but sometimes we just need to talk to one another. Just talk to one another. Give each other the time of day. Just give each other the time of day. And worst one, take time to listen. Worst one, but take time to listen. And and then happy Easter, everybody.
Brother Jack?
Like build on what Gene Wayne said, there's a reason why God gives us 2 ears and 1 mouth sometimes. And we need to be good listeners. And really impressed with Brian, work he's done with that group, and life and death situations. And I'd like to hinge on Denise's comment regarding the roads and stuff. It looks like we're going to be able to pull together some bundle packages on these roads nowadays. Just you look at the difference. I mean, you can put 2 or 3 more projects in with the amount of money that we were being charged before. It seems like, so that's great. And I'll speak up for Ocean Breeze as well. We've got a lot of residents in Ocean Breeze, in that area, and just like appreciate what was the comment on Twilly as well. I've been down there. It's kind of it's a rough habitat. I'll call it a habitat, but
My horses like it down there.
yeah, we can graze in those water puddles and has green grass on the sides, and yeah, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Unfortunately, my team was out of it, so I don't have to root for Bama. But I have nothing tonight. So, saying that, let's see here. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session in accordance with 2.2-3711A1 Code of Virginia for the discussion and the recommendation of personnel to serve the town and specific personnel performances and salary.
So move.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good evening, y'all.